Okay, so, all right, I just washed my hair, and I know that there are going to be tangles, okay? And so I have prepared myself the best. I've never watched myself untangle my hair, so this is going to be interesting. All right, so, um, there have been so many times when I have sat and untangled my hair, and the thought came through my head that problem solving is like untangling your hair. Okay? First of all, you know how I talked about last week about preparing for the inevitable? All right. There will be tangles. I know that there will be tangles. Every time I wash my hair, there are tangles. And so I do as much preparation as possible proactively. For example, I have my handy dandy resource, my nice thick brush, a comb that I like to use when I'm detangling, and I have put hair conditioner on my hair after I washed my hair, and I also use cold water at the very end, which is supposed to help to close up the the individual pieces of hair. I can't think of the name of them right now because off the top of my head. But anyway, so that when you are trying to brush or comb out your tangles, it's not so bad. So I've heard that if you rinse your hair in cold water, it closes the ends of your hair and makes it easier for you to detangle. Okay, so so like I said, I've thought a lot about how um, combing your hair after detangling is like problem solving. You sit there and you think about your resources and you prepare as much as possible, but you know that just like the shoe's going to drop, you will have tangles like this little puppy right here. And so the first thing that you do when you is in problem solving is you recognize that there's a problem, okay? And you sit there and you do a lot of things when you are problem solving, that initial stage where it's the identifying you have a problem. The identification is the first official stage, but it involves a lot. It involves recognizing that there's a problem, recognizing how it affects you, like how much can you, oh, look at that, I got it, how much it is going to affect you, this problem. And with me right now, if I don't get my hair combed out, it's going to be even, if I let it dry like this, can you imagine how much worse it will be? And I have hair everywhere. Um, anyway, so you identify the problem, you identify how it's affecting you, and that's the first step. The second step in problem solving, once you've identified that you have a problem, is you start thinking about all the possible solutions for the problem. Okay, and I affectionately call that brainstorming. The whole idea of I have a garbage can here for my hair. Um, the whole idea about brainstorming is that you come up with all of the possible solutions that you have, that you can think of, and you don't judge. Brainstorming, very important. You don't judge, um, because you, by not judging, you give yourself permission to think outside of the box. You, for me, like for this, do I start at the top? Do I start at the bottom? Do I try with my fingers? That's not, oh, that's not working so well with my fingers. But this is, interesting. So you have all of these different ideas going through your head. So that's step number 2, is thinking about possible solutions. Okay, easy peasy. Like I said, thinking outside of the box opens you up with two possibilities that you would not have considered before. Let's see now. Let me think. I can't think off the top of my head of an outside of the box thought that I used. Maybe I will by the end of this, because the whole idea about this is for me to not edit and for me to just go straight through. So what you're seeing is what I'm given. Okay. All right. So the third thing, after you've come up with all of these different ideas, is you sit down and you take these ideas and you choose one that feels like it's going to work. And there's different ways that you can choose. This is when you start to do the judging. You can look at the pros and cons, okay? Let's see now. I have this really good knot back here, and this is going to be a good example. Okay, so I could go from the top. I could go from the middle, in the middle of it, or I can go from the bottom. So these are my 3 possible solutions that I'm working with today. I could, if I had access to it, maybe, they've got these detanglers that you can buy for kids. I could put that in my hair. But honestly, I don't feel the need to do that, because I know, just like preparing for the inevitable, I know that I have detangled my hair before with just a comb and patience. And so I don't feel the need to go out and buy something extra. I put the hair conditioner on. I always want to say air conditioner. But other than that, we're just going to go step by step and inch by inch. Well, anyway, so you think of all your different possible ideas, you take them, and you decide, okay, which one am I going to try first? So, we'll try from the top, all right? So, okay, it was an idea, and even though there's some success in some places, like over here, starting from the top and working down seems to be working. But for this one little puppy right here, it's not quite so happy. All right, so let me try from the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to try from the bottom, and I'm going to patiently. Oh, step 3 is to choose. Step 4 is to try it out. Okay, so I tried it from the top, and I found that it works back here, but it doesn't work. Well, it's starting to work here too, isn't it? But it's not at the very end. Okay, so it didn't work all the way by just going straight from the top to the bottom. So then I stop, I reassess, I try another way. And that way is for me to sit here and patiently go from the bottom, and there's another one. And I think that and then I just keep trying. A couple of things when you're talking about problem solving. You notice how I didn't panic. Notice how I realized, you know what? There are going to be tangles. I'm going to have to do this. How I had already set myself up for success the best that I could by, using the conditioner on my hair, by using the cold water, by having my favorite utensil, instrument, whatever you want to call it, my comb. And then the other thing that I didn't do was I didn't panic, because I knew that no matter how bad it felt at the beginning, if I just take it one step at a time, I'm going to be okay. It's like, and would you look at that? about that. Take your time. Be very calm. Don't pull. Just start if you have to. Start from a different direction. Okay, with problem solving, okay, you may not always get the best result with the first solution. But don't panic, because eventually you will be able to find the problem. So, you identify the problem. You recognize that there's something going on and that things aren't right. And you then start identifying what the problem is and how it affects you. One of the things that we don't look at when we do problem solving is we don't focus on how the problem affects you, because that really influences what you consider to be a good solution. I remember doing a class, a group, while I was working on the psych unit in the hospital, and we came up with I would ask, okay, somebody give me a problem, and we will brainstorm solutions to the problem, and it was an exercise that we would do. And this one person said, I got a letter in the mail, charging me, oh, what is it? There's a fine you get when your kids skip school, okay? And so we discussed it from the position of, okay, as a parent, I have to deal with my kids skipping school, and having to and so I have to deal with my son skipping school. I have to deal with coming up with the money to pay for the fines because he skipped school, and I also well, those were the two main things I could think of off the top of my head. And so each one of those, you approach the problem from a different perspective, right? Coming up with the money to pay the fines, coming up with the dealing with your son who was skipping school, and all of that it involved. And so how it affects you is something very important to think about when you're problem solving. In regards to actually coming up with possible solutions, okay, the whole idea about just sitting there and coming up with all of these different ideas, it helps you to look beyond the mundane and open yourself up to options that you would not have considered. We did a session once and the problem was, I have a felony and I can't get a job. So we came up with all of these different ideas, such as going to people with small businesses so that you could talk to the business owner person to person so you can present yourself. There is going online and looking for companies, large companies that open themselves up to hiring people with backgrounds that aren't going to pass muster for a lot of people. Then there is the going into business for yourself. There is, and then we started talking about all of the different businesses that you could go in for yourself, that if you had a felony, it's not going to affect the end result. Okay? And then once you come up with all of these ideas, then you take them one at a time, and you talk about them. You think about the pros and cons. You think about what works, what is good about it, and what might get in the way. And then you come up with a possible solution and you try it out. Think about all of the times that you have done that with your own problem solving. If one thing didn't work, you stood back, you tested it out, you assessed it, and then you went back up to your list of possible solutions and you tried again. And so, that's problem solving. The skill to really develop in problem solving is brainstorming. Being able to come up with ideas, just opening yourself up and not judging. Judging is for the next section when you choose a solution. Okay? So, well, guess what? All right, this is a longer video than usual. My hair is done. And I think that I need to say, for those of you that actually made it through 15 minutes, thank you very much. My name is Naomi. This is Journey of a Flying Pig, where I am talking about semi-retirement, but I seem to be doing a lot of talking about just life skills that I've learned in my vast years of living. All right? Do me a favor. If you like this, like this. If you want to, subscribe. And comment, please. Give me feedback. I'm always looking for feedback. Thank you. Bye-bye.